So I have this statue to repair. The arm broke off. Oops, and the arm broke off. And this is what I'm going to try to repair. Now the brake is poor. It's very old. It's been broken for a long time. And there's multiple attachment points. There's going to be seams everywhere. And this particular spot is really bad. And it's going to need filling. So this is sort of a new thing for me. I'm going to give it a try, see if I can do a really nice job fixing it up. It goes back like this. And there's 3 points of attachment on the top. And then there's the arm. Whew. That's a tough match. It's going to be a tough glue up. I think I'm just going to start by securing this bottom one with electrical tape. So that way I can get it tight. And I'm going to just start by securing that where I think it should be. So I'll just put some glue on my finger. Trying to be careful not to be messy. Oops. I'll goop it in there. Make sure, not goop it, I'll very carefully place it on these spots that need repairing. This is the moment to get the bulk of the drips out of there. Anything you had a problem with? All right. So we'll start. Okay, now I'm gonna put these two together. Keep some scissors nearby. Electrical tape, you always end up wrapping it, and then you have to break it off, and it doesn't like breaking, it stretches, and it messes up what you're trying to do. So if you keep some scissors handy, you can avoid that by just making nice, quick snips instead. All right, let's see about getting this lined up. And it's more important that it looks good from the front. Let's see about, we'll go with a, oops. Okay, this is, to start, we'll start our tape, and then we'll line it up. And then we're going to hopefully be able to stretch this tape out nice and strong, or tightly. So we'll get it where it needs to be. And tighten it around her face in this instance. Alright, and further positioning, applying lots of tension on my tape as much as is reasonable without breaking it. We should take this off. Let's see about getting this organized too before our glue sets up, because that's really not right there. That's where it's gonna. Okay, so that's as good as I'm gonna get it. I think it's very carefully lined up and tensioned everywhere I could in the right spots. There are some gaps. I mean, it's just gonna, whoops, and of course I just whacked that, but hopefully that didn't throw me out of whack too much, and it doesn't seem to have. Now it did fall down the stairs, so there's likely little bits missing in the corner, in the edges, and it's been sitting around for a while. I don't like that here it's not matching up, but it's pretty close, and I can just make it look like it was supposed to be like that. And then of course all these seams will need some work so that they don't look like they've been broken. That's why it's important to get it as close as you can, because you can blend it, but it's going to be a lot of work. So, but it looks good from the front more than from the back. I'm going to just leave it. I'm leaving it. It's an executive decision. Okay, so the tape's off. And she looks pretty decent. So if I was to go in close here, there were 3 points. This one, this one, and this one. And the seams are pretty good. There's a bit of gapping there, but I'll fix that afterwards. In the back here, it's pretty good. It's slightly off, but it's pretty good. And then down here at where the hand broke off, it's quite a nasty crack. And if I get the light there, you can see how bad it is right there. So that's obvious, really obvious. Up here, you wouldn't notice from the front, but I can still do some touching up. But this part, I'm gonna have to get creative to fill that in. That's teak. And I don't have anything that's gonna match it except for more teak, and I don't have any teak. And so I'm thinking, you can see it was hewn right out of a tree. There's the pith right there, the center of the tree, and these are the rings. So I'm gonna need some kind of good filler to hide those cracks, and I want it to match as close as possible, as closely as possible to this wood color and everything else. So if I could use the actual wood, would be the best thing. And on the bottom of this sculpture, it's just been hewn out very roughly to be a little bit concave on the inside so that it doesn't rock around when it sits on the ground, so only the edges touch. Anyway, I'm thinking if I could sand in this area here, and I'll collect the dust on the table, and if I sand myself enough good dust, mix that with some white glue, I can create my own wood filler. It's going to look just the right color, and I can use it to fix that nasty big crack and some of the smaller ones. Okay, so that's the next step. I'm going to sand some dust off. So I've collected some sawdust, some teak sawdust. I don't want to over collect it because I don't want to make too much. If I need to, I can always sand off more and make some more. So we'll start with this because it's always going to take more than one application. And I'm just going to use white glue, just white glue. And then I'm just going to mix it together into a paste. I patched all these cracks with the filler, and this one it's a bit I probably could have put some more sawdust in it, but I'm just going to let it set up and stay on it for a bit. So I'll keep smoothing that out a bit until it starts to get a little stickier, and that's it. We're going to let them dry, and then we'll go back in and sand it and see from there. So I let it dry overnight, and the seams up here look good. This one's a bit wonky, but I think I can sand those now. But what happened was the filler really darkened. It got a lot darker. So this one here also, I really had the filler packed in. I think it was a bit too runny. And it didn't fill it in very well. So I'm gonna sand all that out and see. It's also very dark, so I'm gonna see what I can do about it. I'm gonna clean that up, and then we'll have to go again on here. And these ones, I think I can clean them up and just make the cracks disappear at this point. So that's my next thing. I'm going to do that. Start with this really bad spot here. Get the natural contours of this arm back, and then we can worry about the full detail patching and crack hiding. So there's the crack now, filled with something, but it darkened up on me. In the top here, needs to be sanded out but I think it's not going to need a lot of extra work. Once I sand, you won't see those cracks. So I've created a pretty thick patch around the crack, and I'm going to let that dry really well, and then we're going to sand it out. Up here, if you wanted to look really carefully on the back, if you were scrutinizing, you might find a crack back here or on the top of this one maybe. But it's so minute that I'm just going to leave them. So we're going to leave it, let it dry. And then we'll have a bit of sanding to do to make it look pretty again. But hopefully you won't see a crack anymore. Wonders what he's gonna say when I tell him it's $600 to fix this. Anyway, that's what I've got. I left this thick at the bottom because the hole in the top of the sculpture is offset. So I'm gonna have to carve this to the appropriate, it's gonna have to be offset. And that'll be the top of the sculpture. I hope for that it looks okay. So I made this top to fit on, but I want it to fit flush on there, and I left this peg thick at the bottom because of the hole on the top is offset. It's not in the middle. So if I were to put that in there, it wouldn't look right. I want it to be centered. And I'm just going to take a little bit of paint, very little bit. I'm just going to gently paint, or I'm going to leave a little bit of paint on the outside of this hole. Just like that. And then, getting my piece centered where I want it. Oh, my glasses, I hate wearing glasses. I'm gonna place it where I think it should go. Press down, and hopefully I get an impression on my, which I do, on my peg. So now I'm just gonna carefully trim that to match that profile, and it hopefully will slide right in. So this is teak and this is maple, but it seems to blend in pretty well. And I left it, I didn't sand it that well so that it looks kind of hand hewn. So it kind of matches up. Then I'm gonna have to sand out the darkness on the arm. So I have another idea to try to do something with this. Maybe I'll make her a bracelet out of deer skin or something that blends in nicely, and I'll try to make something to cover that up. I'm just stitching this up now. And what I'm doing, you may wonder, this is deer hide. And I've made her a bracelet. I'm just gonna work it out a little more. Get the shape right. It looks like a bracelet. I'm gonna make it look better. I'll just get I'll maneuver it a little bit more so it looks a little more proper. But I think that'll work, and I can always beeswax the leather too, and it'll darken it up a bit. There, and that's what it looks like now with its new bracelet, and which is a deer hide bracelet, deer skin, that I beeswaxed, and I just laced it in the back. So it's laced back here with wax thread. And from the front, it looks pretty convincing, and it covers up that patch really nicely. I didn't want to make it too long to make it look awkward, so you can kind of see the crack here at the tip. But but it's not supposed to be a museum restoration. It's supposed to put it back together and make it look functional. And it was a terrible break. And so this way, I didn't add any wood to it or anything. It's just, there's a piece of jewelry added to it. And if you want, you can take it off. It just unlaces. Same as the top here. The top is not glued in. So it can be pulled out if he's not happy with it and made into something else, or a different top or no top or whatever. So anyway, that's it.